Called Walk With Me. Hope everyone's doing okay. Today's video is called A Race Filled with Evil. I want to outline a few things, shine a light on a few truths so that we can start looking in the right places and stop listening to what people that lack understanding are telling us, because all it can do is confuse our minds even more than it's already confused. So if your mind is in trouble right now, you feel like you reached a place you don't quite know how you got here. First thing I want to assure you of is, just as you got here, you can also find your way out. Just as you got yourself trapped and bound yourself to this, you can unbind yourself from it. I want to assure you of this first, that it can be studied and sought out from your mind if you're patient, if you're willing to do the work necessary. It will have to happen. So I want to assure you of this first before I start talking. I also want to outline a few things that today we filled ourselves with evil. Not just now. Slowly, step by step, we walked towards this direction. We didn't just show up and our minds just ended up in a place that was just horrible in one night. It didn't just happen in one night. We walked towards this direction. We took steps. Smaller steps, which led to bigger steps, which led to even larger steps, which led to even worse steps. We slowly stepped in the wrong way. We stepped in the wrong directions. And we have to figure out where those steps were, which were wrong, and not take those steps anymore. And then we also start figuring out where are the good steps and start taking those steps so that we can arrive at a place that is good. If we keep taking evil steps, we will arrive at a place that is evil. We take good steps, we'll arrive at a place that is good. So we have to study. We have to discern what's good and what's evil. The Bible talks about discernment a lot. It says discern, so you can discern for yourselves what is good and true, so that you can know what the perfect will of God is. So that you can discern for yourself what is good and true. So it's important to start practicing discernment. Start building up a temple in your mind that can think from a clear space. We have to get this mind to think from a clear space. It's hard to see the truth when your mind is not in a clear space. So we have to stop polluting our minds. In the Bible, it even says, this, my brother, is true religion. Helping out the widows and the poor, and assuring and making sure that your mind doesn't come polluted by the world. This is true religion. It says it in the Bible. This is what true religion is. It says your religion is worthless without works. It says faith without works is dead. So we have to start practicing this way. It says that true religion is helping out the widow and the poor and making sure your mind is not polluted by the world. And that's very hard to do if you're... See, this is why you start to realize, okay, I do this, now I see why I do this. So I started taking steps at the beginning. I didn't quite know yet why I was doing what I was doing. I didn't quite know why I got off of social media. I didn't quite know why I started eating this type of food. I didn't quite know why I didn't do this or I didn't do that. But through time and patience of not refraining from those activities, my mind began to see why. I tried to get on social media after a while again, and my mind genuinely saw no profit, no gain in it, and saw it for what it was. It's a pull of anxiety, a pull of evil things, a pull of bad thoughts, a pull of the world feeding you false ideas and concepts. And this world is all for the devil. This is the devil's world. Well, it's God's world, but this is the devil. The devil has a little bit of power here. The devil has no power in heaven, only on earth. So, yeah, let's get back to what I was talking about. Sorry, I stray away from what I'm trying to say a lot. Let me get back to what I was trying to say. So, yeah, you have to figure out which steps you took in the wrong direction. And start by eliminating those steps. It's just not going to be an easy, simple process. You built up this habit. Your mind is attached to these things. Your mind derives some sense of comfort from them, even though that same thing is causing it the trouble it's in. Your mind only knows that one thing as the escape. You have to take that away from it and snatch that away from your mouth. Take the pacifier out of the baby's mouth for a while and let it cry a little. It's going to be painful. Take the pacifier out the baby's mouth and just bear the crying for a while. It's going to kick and scream. Your mind's going to kick and scream. You took away its pacifier. What can you expect? You took away what it liked. You took away where it found comfort. What can you expect but for your mind to panic and kick and scream? It was like as if you took a baby from its mother. It's going to get scared. It's going to get fearful. It's going to do anything to get you to realize that it doesn't like it, just as a baby does. So you have to take those bad steps away, despite the mind turning against you, despite the thing just starts to say to you, the thing just starts to, the images just starts to pop up in front of you, the fears it starts to try to just anything it tries to get you to fall back in line with what it wants you to do. You have to bear that, and then by refraining from doing those evil actions, you start to see, okay, so I don't just have to not do anything. I don't just have to sit here and not do anything, even though that's how I started. I can do things. Now I'm confident, a little more confident of what I can do and what I cannot do. So I can now go into the world a little bit more now, and I can discern where to go and where not to go, so that I don't take that one seemingly small step. We think they're small steps, they seem small, but these steps lead to bigger steps. So these seemingly small steps, that one thing, that little, well, it's just this, or it's just one time, or it's not going to be too bad. I mean, it's not that bad. Like, I'm not killing anyone, I'm not murdering anyone, I'm not committing adultery. Technically, I'm not doing anything wrong. Technically, but you have to realize it goes way beyond that. Think ahead. Okay, technically, I'm not doing anything wrong, but if I do this now, and I do it again, and I do it again, where will it lead me? Can it lead me to a good place? If not, then why would I do it? It's just one little party. I'm just going to a party to have fun with my friends. This is why it can get very tricky, because it seems small, and it doesn't seem that bad, but you have to think. Even if your intentions are good, even if your intentions aren't bad, even if you do just want to go and have a good time with your friends and enjoy their company, you have to think a little bit more. Okay, I do. That's true. It's true. I acknowledge my intentions are pretty good. I do just want to go and have a good time with my friends. But I have to think, like, what are the drawbacks of this? What could possibly be here when I get to this place? What could I possibly see when I get here? Could there be people here that are not good for me to be around? Could there be old habits here that I shouldn't be around? You have to think a little bit ahead, because you could find yourself in a spot where you took one small step and it was good intentions, and then you get there and now you're a little tempted, and now the intentions change. So you just have to protect yourself. This is a protection for yourself. Do not get overconfident in your ability to refrain from things. Do not get overconfident, but humble yourself. Humble yourself greatly, to the point where you say, okay. And it's not about, because we sometimes get overconfident and think, okay, I should be able to go around these things and I should be able to not feel anything from them. I should be able to go around these things that used to cause me trouble and used to cause me to want to go towards and tempt. And I should be able to go around these things and not be tempted by it. That's the approach, but that's not the approach, especially at the beginning. While that would be that would be great if that could happen. That would be beautiful. You have to realize I'm a long way off from that. I'm a long way off. My step right now is to refrain from even putting myself in the possibility of danger. Not going into danger, thinking that I can withstand the danger, but just taking away the danger as a whole and saying, okay, I won't put myself in danger. I won't do it. I'll stay away from danger. I make sure, and even the Bible says, watch your steps closely. It says, watch your steps closely. Think good thoughts. It says, whatever is good, noble, and true, and honorable, think of these things constantly. Think of these things. So train your mind to dwell on pure thoughts, on pure things, because it's hard, because your mind only knows evil, and it only knows to go to things that take control over it. It can't imagine pleasure apart from excitement. It can't imagine the pleasure of peace. There is pleasures there that are actually good for you, pleasures that you can enjoy and rest at. Sensual indulgences aren't one of them. You can't rest in sensual indulgences. There's no rest there. There's just it's a want for more. You always want more and more, and your mind will get to further and further hells. You'll go into further and further pits in your mind, further and further mind states that are not good for you in your mind. So you have to take those things away, snatch those sensual pleasures away, give up the pleasures of the body, and assure yourself that these are not the only pleasures there are. Even though those are the only pleasures you've known up to this point, there's heavenly pleasures. There's pleasures far ahead if you just keep walking in this direction, sacrificing those things. When sacrifice leads to a greater gain, you sacrifice the lower for the higher. So we're sacrificing the lower pleasures of the body, the sensual pleasures, for the higher pleasures in heaven. But it takes a lot more to get those. These pleasures are earned. The pleasures in heaven are earned. The pleasures on earth are given. They're given. They'll always be there. Why waste your time chasing after things that will always be there? Why waste your time chasing after pleasures in the body that take no effort, no skill? It takes nothing to give into these things. Why waste your time? If you are to at least put your mind on something, put your mind on something that's worthwhile, something that actually takes some effort, something that takes some endurance. You can learn from these things. You will never learn anything from allowing your life to be controlled by your pleasures and looking for the next pleasure constantly, time and time again. You'll never get anything from it. You'll never see anything, even if it's not a spiritual path or something you're pursuing. If you're pursuing something and you have to make these sacrifices with the business world, you have to sacrifice some of these sensual pleasures. If you're taking on a sport or a career, you have to sacrifice some of these pleasures. You can at least learn something there. But if you allow your life to just be one big circle of pleasure, thinking about what's the next pleasure I'll get, when's the next time I'm going to get it, how am I going to get this next pleasure, in different ways. If you bring yourself to it, you realize it's just the same pleasure in different ways. You can only get so much from this body. You can only eat so many different kinds of food. You can only have sex with so many different kinds of women. You can only, these things, they all come down to the same core center, which is these things are pleasing to the body. That's all it is. It can never be nothing more. That's the furthest of extent that it can go. You're trying to make, you have this one inside of you, this one for something more, and you're trying to make something more out of something that has no more to it. Pleasure is just pleasure. It's nothing else to it. You can have different kinds. You can get it again and again. It's just what it is. It's just that feeling that is pleasing. That's all it is. So we have to sacrifice these to figure out the higher pleasures, the pleasures that require no stimulus, the pleasure that require no company, the pleasure of peace, the pleasure of compassion, the pleasures of joy, the pleasures of true happiness. So do me a favor, y'all, just retrace your steps for me. Contemplate, think about it, because I think it's going to be hard for you to think because your mind's going to be in these places where all it can think about is that pleasure. And you're so trapped within that pleasure that it's causing this fear and it's causing you to run back to it that you really can't think straightly right now. Even if you try to recall your past actions, you really can't quite do it because your mind can only think in this certain mind state that you built up and that you craved and longed for and built up through constant repetition. So you can't even think clearly the way that you need to be able to recall your steps. So first step is break rid of those pleasures. That's the first step. Then come back to this video, but break rid of those things that are causing you to lose control. Get rid of them. They serve you no good. Let them go. And it will be hard. It will be painful. But it comes to pass. All that fear, that anxiety, it turns to wisdom and peace. Fear is the beginning of wisdom. Fear leads to wisdom. And it'll turn to wisdom and peace. So once you're able to do that and get your mind in a state that can think clearly, then start to contemplate and retrace your steps. Think, where did I go wrong? Which step did I take that led me in the wrong direction? What did I do? How did I get there? Were there smaller steps beforehand? Was there something in between this that kept me going towards it? Where did I find, how did I get here? That's the problem today. We don't think of peace. We don't think of happiness. Well, we do think of happiness, but we think that we can get happiness out of the wrong things. We don't think of that inner peace, that inner happiness, that inner strength. We don't think of these things, but we only think of outer things. We have to change our mindset, realize that this world is happening from the inside then out, not the outside then in. You can never generate happiness from the outside then within. You generate happiness from the inside out. And then when you have it on the inside, then you can give it to others and spread your happiness. You can help others to be happy in your presence. You can do so much more. It's going to take a lot of effort, but invest your time in it. It's worth it. A year or two can lead you to places that you can't even imagine. If you invest a year or two into this way of living, into this way of thinking, to this way of acting, you can gain lifetimes of wisdom by just focusing your mind on it. And imagine what 5 years could bring, what 10 years could bring, and what 20 years could bring. I thank y'all for listening. You have a good one.